Hello everyone, it's 11th January 2017 and this is another episode of ProAMT Traders Digest. Let me go through the disclaimer first. Trading in stocks derivatives involves substantial risk of loss and not suitable for all investors. Past or simulated performance is not a guarantee of future results. All systems, indicators, strategies shown here are for education purpose only. All levels discussed here are for understanding the study and not a recommendation to trade. Please consult your personal financial advisor before making any investment or trade decision based on anything that is discussed here. We will not be responsible for any resulting profits or losses. So let's have a look at what Nifty did, what we had expected, and what it did. So open above the range, open above previous day's range. Yesterday was a nice balance. Opened above, tried to push back in, and then in the opening swing itself did the day high. So this day high, which stayed there till the I period breached the day high, stayed was made in the opening swing and stayed there, and then trying to build a balance. B period in sidebar, C period tried to push below the B period low, and then D period extending on both the sides, and finally E period, when it tried to push into previous day's range, it failed, and a higher low in the H period. All of a sudden, pull back because there was a mess here. It was rotating in a very tight range, and then all of a sudden a push to the new day high. Found sellers there, tried to push back into the developing point of control, and then finally spiked up in the closing hours. So overall, almost a balance, and trying to accept above the point of control of the neutral extreme day. There is a anomaly here, and a bit of this is not really anomaly, but not a very methodical auction. So maybe we need a repair of this, and the sooner it repairs and fails, the better it is. Because SGX Nifty in the late trading hours was trading higher, was trading even above the previous week high. So the expectation goes up for a gap up open. But let's see, let's first get on to all the charts and then see what can be the likely scenario. Now, if we see on the 3 minutes, open, reject lower, push higher, and create a balance. Now this balance all of a sudden breaks down to the day mid, again tries to push back into the upper balance mid, but if you can see here, let's zoom in. There is no supply here, but then that supply is taken out. Again it spikes up above this pivot high, and we see a spike, a no demand and no supply together into that spike, and then breaks down, comes to the previous day's high, and again rotates there for a while and does not find any supply. If you can see here, let's zoom and check. When it's coming down, This blue bars represent, the light blue ones represent no supply, and the pink ones or the magenta, light magenta ones represent no demand. So no demand is negative, that's why a red color, a pinkish color, and no supply is positive, that's why a positive blue color. And the green colors are spikes. So pushes back into the VWAP after not finding supply, tries to rotate in a negative way below the VWAP, gets a bit of a spike. The volume was very low, lower than the average, but higher than the previous day. And delta almost, it went huge green in this, all active buyers coming in, but they all almost covered into that zone. So very short term play by the day time frame players in the open, and then goes negative, 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 finds some buyers here, if you can see, though not much, but the delta is green. This one stays green till here, goes red, again finds buyers, and then finally sells into this rise, but then sees the breakout and they run for a cover. So this buying can be running for a cover or maybe fresh buying. We'll come to know depending on what happens. No point making any assumptions. Now on the 15 minutes, we could see that whenever it was breaking the lows, sellers were getting stuck, these red delta dots at the lows. So this is the, each dots are per tick dots at 0.05. So we can just make out that all the ticks in a 2-point range were all sellers getting too short, and they were all squeezed. And finally a huge seller showing up when it broke the day high, but in the end again the same scenario, goes into this congestion and day mid and finds buyers exactly above that, pushes through the highs. Now let's see what can be the likely scenario for today. Let's go back a bit. So the point of control, the volume point of control is almost merged with the day before's volume point of control, and also a day earlier. So Thursday, Friday point of control were almost similar. Again, this point of control is almost similar. Now I would like to draw a profile here because of seeing this balance. I would draw it from somewhere here, and let's see if we can find some important formation. So start somewhere here and end up. So this happened to be the volume based VAH, and the pullback, when it pulled back into the volume based VAL. Let's see if that was there when it happened. It's easier to watch it in hindsight, but better to see what happened what was there when it was happening. Now the volume, the value area is there itself. So ruled by this and pushing it up due to this magnet of the point of control, the volume point of control, which is also the HVN, because the highest traded volume would become the point of control. So now the likely scenario today, if we go by the, let's draw it. This is a HVN and then nothing here. So let's draw a line a band in this zone, a minor band. So any open above this and not staying below this would try to go higher and meet. Now on the micro composite we have 8350, which is a HVN 8355, and then we have 8365, almost is 365, where a bit of congestion starts. So that is the likely scenario if it can stay above this and find some consensus. Suppose if it's not able to do that, and this scenario is in case of a gap up, pushes back into the range and starts accepting like midway, and if it fails here also, then tries to settle somewhere into the mid of previous day. So this can be the likely scenario. On the other hand, if it opens in range, tries to push above, then don't want it to come inside again and then start accepting higher and gradually start its move up to the same probing zone. And if it doesn't find consensus, then directly push down. Try to see what lies into this zone, into the 8260 zone. If it finds buyers here, push back up and settle somewhere again into the 8290 zone. And if it finds supply here, then push down and now break this low. So that is the likely scenario. Now let's have a look at Bank Nifty. Now Bank Nifty open inside range but outside of value. There was a nice value here. So outside of that value, comes below the point of control of previous day. Yesterday was a nice balance, comes into that, rejects, and then finds starts compressing a lot. Now this compression when breaks out leads to a trending move. So goes up, fails from the open, but again comes down, is not able to push through this compression, and then finally spikes up into a new weekly high. The weekly high was as it is breached yesterday itself, but again like today, a new high post the open. Now let's see what is the shape. This is an anomaly, two anomalies here. So, but not necessarily that a repair is required. It's trading outside the range, and also let's go back and see a nice balance is up right up there into the 18490, 18495 zone. So first we want to see that is it able to stay above this 410 zone or not, 18410. If it's not able to stay, then we can think of weakness creeping in. But till it stays above that, it will try its best to go and meet that upper reference. And also, if it finds acceptance there or even open above that, then would try to repair this zone completely and maybe go into 18600, 650 kind of zone. Now let's see on the 3 minutes what it did. The opening volume was above average, and the same thing opens higher and all of a sudden pushes down. So in the first 20 minutes only pushes down into the accepted area. This area is so thick to push through that it tries to balance here. And if you can see, a nice upward balance. uh, this is a nice, like a long liquidation, and that getting all the selling getting absorbed, and till it didn't find new buyers, it was all sideways. Because see, what happened is all of a sudden it falls here, and half of the buyers who had bought from here yesterday in this zone, the order flow was positive, and those guys, if at all they carried forward, would be uh, confused with this kind of move. And because see, after all, in trading everyone is in panic. Once they are buyers or sellers, they want to get out of the positions, because without getting out they can't book the profits. So it's not that if you have $1 million then you can easily like wait and hang on till it goes 200 points more down. And finally, it after this balance it breaks out again, forms a nice balance, breaks out of that balance, and a trending move at the end of the day. A huge spike coming in at the end of the day with volume, and overall it was able to like reach almost like the median volume. So not an important day with a daily volume perspective. On the 15 minutes, a nice compression and a balance here. If you can see, a long liquidation breaks. Suppose this breaks down, so becomes a long liquidation, because this forms a B, and then accepts above the fair area of that B. So this is how you can manually, you don't need to like plot the value area of this and see where is the VH. Obviously it will get rejected from the VH couple of times before it decides where it wants to go. Now let's have a look at the Renko. Opening swing was established in this initial when it tried to push back in and then pushed up. That is the point where the opening swing was established. Breaks the opening swing low in a huge impulse. It was doing a bit of it was a bit confused at the highs, but then all of a sudden a huge impulse move. Now such impulses generally, when they pull back to the day mid directly, tend to extend lower. But what happened is it was not gathering that momentum to push higher also, and when it was coming down the supply was going down. So when it came down, started going sideways with a positive bias, slowly in a very symmetric manner, if you can see in a channel move. So if you can see this channel, a nice channel move up, and finally breaks out of that channel as well. Breaks out, comes to test back, and then finally again starts its move up. And if you can see this, this was a nice demand area. A cluster here, a higher cluster there. So this becomes a nice, a bit higher. Yeah, now it's straight almost. So let's see what we can expect today out of this. A very messy volume profile though. Now this we'll combine all this entire move, which started lower from almost here and continues till here, and finally after this is done, this breakout, and so we'll leave it here itself. So nice balance on volume profile. See how it does. It pushes up, pushes into the higher balance, comes back, tests this VH, and then continues its move up. A lot of acceptance happening in volume terms at the highs. So what we would like to see today, let's go through. So in case opens gap up, then push into the 450 zone, decide there what it wants to do. Either fail back and come into this, because this is a low, very important low volume node coming above the range. So those low volume nodes are important. So enter into the range, come here, and then start going sideways and again try to push up. Now if in the second push up does not gather enough momentum, then come down and probe into this demand zone which has gone a bit higher. So that is one of the likely scenarios. Other scenario is does not fail and it continues the move down. So move up, sorry. So that is one of the scenarios as a part of the first thing, that where it wants to go. Does it want to continue higher, or does it want to fail and come back down? In case opens into this range, if it opens into this range, so below this HVN and right near this high volume area. So this is if you can see this high volume area, and if it opens there, would try to rotate, push back down, and then decide what it wants to do, because the range would expand a bit to find consensus either side. So it will try to probe lower and higher to see if enough supply is there or not. If supply is existent lower, it will try to push down. So in that case, it will try to break the low, even go into this, and then decide here near the 18,290 300 zone, decide what it wants to do. And if it accepts here and does not find any supply, and if demand arises, once it's in here, we need demand above this. If demand comes in, then push through this HVN as well, because that would actually then prove that does it want to go up or not. Because if it's not, after so much consensus, if it's not going to go up, it might lose the momentum very soon. So I think that's it for today, and thanks for watching, and have a nice and profitable trading day ahead.